introduce ourselves?
Yeah, sure. I am Amy Baldwin, and I am working with the Berkeley Historical Society Museum, interviewing our community members. Yeah.
I'm Mary Ann Wight, and I live in Berkeley, and I'm interested to see what our exhibit of the history of the Japanese community in Berkeley will be. Yeah.
So I understand you're an artist, and you have done work about, I guess, Japanese identity and personal stories.
Yes, I make books, and so one book that I made a number of years ago is about my grandma, who came as a picture bride from Hiroshima to Seattle, and then after she married, they moved to Idaho, where my grandfather had opened a small cafe. So Grandma Yamada used to rotate among her 4 children after they each had started raising families. And she would, 2 of the families were farmers, and one family was in Seattle, and a 4th family was in dental school. And so when my uncle, who was doing his finals and stuff, Grandma would move over to his family and help out there. And when it was harvest time at our house, she would move to our house, and so forth. And so that way we got to spend time with her while we were growing up. So would you like to see the book that I made for
Sure,
Grandma
yes.
Yamada?
Yeah.
This is a book that is bound in the Japanese style of binding along one side. The cover is made of strips from silk obis that I found at a kimono recycling shop, and they the obis had been attacked by moths, and so I just salvaged strips of the silk and wove it into this sort of a book obi. And this is the picture of my grandma. And then it just has some stories of my recollection of her, and other photos of her in different homes of her various children. And then at the back of the book is for us a treasure. That's too far back. This when Grandma went to visit one of the families who had moved to Japan to be in the American occupation after World War II, she commissioned a genealogy of the Yamada family, and so it went back many generations.
Wow.
I think here's the first generation from 660 BC, and then the final one was my Uncle Manabu, who was Grandma's oldest son, and I think that was 20 generations later. So that's sort of a little collection of my impressions. I had a little essay in there about the things that I remember about Grandma and her artistic abilities that we enjoyed while she was living with us.
Yeah, I noticed that it's like you're using handmade paper as well.
There's some handmade papers, and the cover. This cover is that wrinkled. It's called momigami paper. It's momigami paper was a way of making the paper stronger, and also it would be infused with yam paste, and the firemen would wear protective clothing made of momigami paper. Apparently, it wouldn't burn as fast as other kinds of protective garments.
Do you feel like using these materials is a connection to your heritage? Is that part of your use?
I think that's the idea. I didn't visit Japan until I was, probably in my mid-30s. So, and being raised in the rural part of Oregon, and this generation after the war, it was very important to my parents to be fully assimilated. And so it wasn't until actually we moved to Berkeley and we moved here at the beginning of graduate school. So in art, and I started being able to find, like used kimono shops and and things that were not really accessible to me in Eastern Oregon, that I started to understand a little bit more about materials that were culturally true. I mean, I had a lot of stereotypical ideas from magazines and things like that, but and then it took a while for me to feel like I knew enough about Japanese textiles and paper and things like that I would be able to use them sort of in the right way. But
So do you feel like being in Berkeley, you managed to connect with a different Japanese American community here? Was that a part of this artistic direction for you? Did you feel like Berkeley nurtured that community? The Japanese American community or artistic community, either one?
Right, it's hard to say. I think yes, it definitely there's more opportunity. My daughter went to Daruma no Gakko during her elementary school summers, which was just as much as you can squeeze into a morning of lessons about music and a little bit about language and culture, and then she also had a program when she was in high school in the summer through ATDP, and there she studied more about Japan, and we had made a couple of trips to Japan, as a family. So, and also my father's cousins from Kyushu were very, very faithful at coming to visit our families. Whenever there would be a Wakasugi family reunion, there would be cousins that would come from Japan. And they made a big effort, so just sort of was. And then I had studied Japanese language in college for a couple of years, and then at Berkeley Adult School we went to a conversational class. So over time, yeah, there was more of a exposure, I think, that helped me understand more than I had known growing up. Yeah.
So it's nice for your daughter to have the opportunity that maybe you didn't have growing up. Yeah.
Right. It is very different. The sort of her awareness of her cultural identity, even though she's Hapa, she's always sort of had this awareness, and I think it's just and the other thing that helped was coming to California and seeing all the other ethnic communities who, like, especially we have a lot of Chinese American friends whose hold on their culture is much more, I think, much firmer than ours. And I think partly it's due to just having come from a rural area where there's not that many, ethnic minorities. But yeah, and then Latin American communities, and I mean, even when we would go on church retreats, we had a Korean American family, Finnish American family. I think there were Chinese American families. All of the children my daughter's age were bilingual except for her.
Oh.
And yeah, so we just also had a different understanding of holding on to culture, and yeah. And then I think working in higher education, I understood more about losses and isolation and things, and how that it was it seemed, what I had always taken for granted growing up, that assimilation was the goal, and not, and just to sort of interrogate that a little bit more, see if that really is the assumption that I had, that I wanted to keep on having. Yeah.
So how much of your art is about is focused on your identity?
That's
you also
interesting.
have these lanterns. And
Yeah.
I don't know what.
So this book I made sort of just on my own, in honor of my grandmother. Most of the other books that I've made have been with a group of bookmakers, and every 12 to 15 months we start a new project, and we sort of set a little parameter for what this is going to be about. And so it's not always about me. But one year, the year of the 75th anniversary of the executive order, I asked my bookmaking group if they would help me make a book of the excerpts from the sermons in the Sunday before, which is American Friends Service Committee pamphlet that was collected of sermons given by Christian pastors to their Japanese American and Japanese congregations in California, mostly Southern California. But what their last words were before they all had to leave their homes. And I found that pamphlet very moving, and so we worked on it as a group, my bookmaking friends and I, and then after we worked on these pages, then I infused the paper with beeswax so that it would be translucent, because we had been writing quotations on one side of the paper, and after they were rendered on the paper, then I did tracings of photographs from the camps and from the evacuation. Did that in graphite on the back of the sheet, and then when I put the beeswax on it, it made both surfaces visible. So the Sunday before, and it consists of a number of, so these pages, they were flat, and then this is a joining, a Japanese style of joining pages or joining sections together. And this one is deciding that it would rather not stay together. But this is another page. So I tried to represent a number of the different concentration camps with the image. This one, I think, is, did I see? This is Manzanar, yeah. Right. This is the chapel in Manzanar. There's the scene. And each of the people in my bookmaking group chose a different, or chose their own excerpt. I'm thinking, well, here's one. This one was the letters were cut out. And maybe can you read that?
Love where there is hate, goodness where there is evil. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Love where there is hate, goodness where there is evil, is a quote from one of the pastor's sermons. And so here's another quotation. Let me see if I can read this one. Try to make things beautiful where there is ugliness. Yeah. So, and that one, I think, so there's Heart Mountain, the landmark in Wyoming, at the Wyoming camp. This is the palm trees. That's what is remaining of the camp at Poston, and so forth. So, yeah, that's sort of an idea of how this project came to be.
Do you have topaz?
You know, when I got all finished, I'd forgotten topaz. So So I'm hoping, nobody counts them all up. Because, yeah, that was terrible. I got finished and went, oh no. I had, I think because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So there are 8. So there should have been topaz, but what I did was the 8th one, we have a, this is a bookmaking tradition. When you finish a book, you make a colophon, and the colophon contains all of the information about the style of the lettering, the medium, and any other notes that the artist wants to make. So each of the people who contributed to this collection wrote a colophon statement. And so the 8th lantern is the colophon, and I don't have a topaz lantern. One thing I did have, so I had Amachi, Colorado, Gila River, Arizona, Hart Mountain, Wyoming, Jerome, Arkansas, Manzanar, California, Poston, Arizona, Rohrer, Arizona, and Tule Lake, California. And I had my own parents. My mother is from Idaho, and so Idaho was not in an exclusion zone. My father is from Oregon, but he was able to move his family to a part of Oregon that was not included in the exclusion zone. And so I had 3 aunties and uncles who married into my father's family. And Auntie May Yasuda had to go to Hart Mountain from Central Washington, and her family, she was 10 years old. My uncle Gish Amano and his family were sent from Portland to Tule Lake, and my Auntie Mary Sato and her family, I think, were also from Portland, and they ended up in Minidoka, Idaho. So I have their camp locations noted on this cover page the Sunday before. So these are going to be on display in the exhibit.
Have you shown them in some other venue?
They have been shown in various places. This because we made this book. Let's see, when did we make this book? I think in the early 2000s, maybe. No, I'm sorry. It says September 2017. That's right. It was, September 2017. So it was the 75th anniversary of 9066. It's been shown at our calligraphy guild's table at one of the antiquarian book festivals in Oakland, and then it was in the exhibit called Sutra and Bible at the Japanese National Historical Museum in Los Angeles in 2021 and 22. Yeah.
So does the format of lantern, is that a symbolic part of the art piece?
Yeah, I think so. Because, my books that I make with my friends, don't always tend to be the kind of book with a folio that you open and flip the pages, but because I have a collection of them over there. They tend to be all different formats, and but this one I thought a lantern would be a way of it would be like the kind of lighting that you could have in a Japanese house with with the tatami mats and the on the floor and stuff like that. Yeah. So with a love that's true always. True love does not exist if it is not faithful, and there's always written in little shapes. Nothing left to do but live happily ever after. This is the verse that says, when the things you've planned need a helping hand, I will understand always.
Oh, nice.
Always. This is has some of the sheet music of the song. Let's see if there's another verse. These are images from the 1930s, I guess. There's Shirley Temple and Babe Ruth, Howdy Doody. I'll be loving you always with a love that's true, always. When the things you've planned, is that right? Need a helping hand, I will understand. Always, always. I don't know if I can read that all upside down. Change may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. And more images from the. So I think each of them not only took a one stanza, but I guess they made a whole section of the book to go with that stanza. This one is minutes, I think. Seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. And the phases of the moon and the time clock. And the energy of the moment is not just for a day. And it's got little tiny tags. A good movie, a song, a special memory, a kind deed. And then this is my mother. And I think, I have a little essay, I think, about her wedding dress that a friend of hers made for her. And then her wedding picture, and then their 50th anniversary. So that's the book about my mother. This year I finally decided I really should do something for a book about my father. And so I instead of giving them words, this time I just had a whole stack of snapshots. I said, pick a photo that speaks to you, and it doesn't have to be about my father, just write about that object. And so a couple of people, noticed that that he had let's see. That he had a typewriter. He used to, he went to business college after high school for a year or so because he was going to be a farmer, and he just figured he needed to be able to, keep his business. So a couple of people responded to the photo of his old Remington typewriter.
Wow.
And then another person who also picked up on the typewriter started thinking about her own parents, and so she wrote these pages about her mom and her dad. This book about my father is the way we chose to put this set of books together is that they were supposed to go not straight across. So I think maybe you can see from this section. So this person chose the snapshot of my father as a tourist, and she made this whole section about Mamoru Wakasugi world traveler, and just found all kinds of pictures of places where he and my mother visited, and these are just photos that she found from other sources, but there were also photos from my own collection of my dad traveling.
Very nice.
The section that I thought I would concentrate on was his testimony before the Senate, the Congressional Select Committee on the problem of the Japanese Americans. And so these hearings were held in Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, and LA in February and March 1942. And so the format of the hearing was Senator Tolan or one of the other representatives would ask a question, and then there was supposed to be, a response. So this is a photo of my father from that time. My name is Mamoru Wakasugi, and his account was supposed to be about Japanese farmers and what they could contribute to the war effort by, and how much food they currently produced from Oregon, and how many farmers there were in Oregon, and how many of them were American born, and how many of them were aliens, and what was their production. And then, so these are sort of, he was giving the figures of their production, and what were the plants, the crops that they grew. And then he was asked if you had to move, because he lived outside of Portland, what would you do when you move? And he said, all of my resources are in the land, and so I would be broke. So, what I found on the internet was that the Tolan hearings, where he testified, started 2 days after the executive order, and the committee did not issue its final report until May 1942. So it played no official role in the decision to remove or incarcerate Japanese Americans. So they heard all of these testimonies from all of these people, mayors and chambers of commerce and religious leaders, and it just went into a record, but it didn't influence any decision. Another of my colleagues likes to write with a brush, and so she found this, what she said is a kanji for farm family, and she found the word shokunin, which she wanted to portray my father as an inventor, because he invented some farm machinery. And so those are her pages. This is another section of my father. One of my colleagues found in his my father's own memoir, he named the towns along the Oregon coast where he knew of Japanese families and that were farmers. And so here he is with his onions, and some of the towns that were near. My father's family was living in Banks, Oregon. There were other Japanese families in Gales Creek, Forest Grove, Cornelius, Hillsborough. And she also depicted some of the crops. She had some seeds that she found. It said, "The simple hearth of the small farm is the true center of the universe." So I'm going to be putting all of these pages together into a book about my father.
Very nice.
I think it was, it's even though it's not easy to read the writing, the excerpts. It's still evocative, I think, and also and hopefully the structure of it is sort of tells what it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you.